Hi everyone, welcome to the session on Prompt Engineering Basics Part 1. This session is first in the series of sessions on prompt engineering. To begin with, prompt engineering is the process of designing and creating prompts or instructions that are used to guide the behavior of artificial intelligence models such as GitHub Copilot or ChatGPT. These AI models rely on prompts to understand the task or problem that they are being asked to solve and can come in any forms, such as natural language queries, structured data inputs, or even in the form of images. So let's get started with it. After going through this video, you will be able to understand the basics of prompt engineering. You will learn some of the techniques of prompt engineering such as I want you to act as, short prompting, zero shot, one shot, and the chain of thoughts prompting. To begin with, let's refer to the process of prompt engineering. It is the process of designing and optimizing prompts for language models like ChatGPT. A prompt is a text input provided to the model to generate a corresponding output or response. The quality and relevance of the prompt can significantly impact the performance of the language model in generating accurate and coherent responses. Prompt engineering involves selecting appropriate keywords and phrases that can guide the model towards generating the desired response. It also involves fine-tuning the model on specific tasks or domains by providing relevant prompts to improve its accuracy and effectiveness. Additionally, prompt engineering can involve optimizing the length, structure, and format of the prompt to maximize the model's ability to understand and respond appropriately. Now let us see the different prompt engineering techniques available to us. So here you will find various prompt techniques to get started with. As you can see on the screen, we have I want you to act as prompting, short prompting, zero shot prompting, one shot, and the chain of thought prompting. We'll see each of these prompting techniques one by one in detail. So we'll start with the most commonly used prompting technique, that is I want you to act as prompting. So here the prompt I want you to act as is a directive statement that instructs ChatGPT to take on a particular role or a responsibility. It is a common type of prompt used in various contexts such as in work settings, educational environments, and personal relationships. This prompt is often followed by a specific task or expectation. For example, I want you to act as my representative in this meeting, or I want you to act as the project manager for this task. It is intended to provide clear guidance and direction to ChatGPT so that it understands the required role and responsibilities. Using this type of prompt can be a very effective way to delegate tasks, assign responsibilities, and establish clear expectations in various contexts. So here this slide shows various examples of I want you to act as prompting. So we have examples like I want you to act as my personal writing assistant and help me write a persuasive essay on climate change. The next one is I want you to act as my language tutor and help me improve my French skills. Third one would be I want you to act as my research assistant and help me find relevant articles on artificial intelligence. Another one would be I want you to act as my writing coach and provide feedback on my creative writing. And the last one, I want you to act as my travel guide and suggest some popular tourist destinations in Europe. Now let us go to the ChatGPT and execute few other examples of I want you to act as prompts. So first, let me try the first prompt. So the first one will be I want you to act as my nutritionist. A healthy meal plan for the week. So here you can see, I'll just press the enter button and let's see the response. You can stop this and just go through the response which it has given to us. So as you can see, the response is generated. It has taken the role of a nutritionist and is recommending a healthy and planned meal for the week as suggested in the prompt. So for Monday, for Tuesday, and so on. Now let us see another example. I want you to act as my financial advisor and suggest some investment options for my savings, and just press enter. So this is the response for our example prompt. There are some general investment options which we can consider: stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, and so on. So we have seen how to use the I want you to act as prompts. However, it is important to note that ChatGPT is still an AI language model and may not always be able to fulfill complex or specialized roles in the same way that a human would. It is also important to use this type of prompting responsibly and ethically without misleading or deceiving others. Now let's move on to the next prompt engineering technique, which is short prompting. Short prompting in ChatGPT refers to providing the AI language model with short and specific prompts, usually consisting of just a few words or a sentence. This approach is designed to elicit concise and targeted responses from the model as opposed to longer and more open-ended prompts. The idea behind short prompting is to help guide ChatGPT towards generating responses that are more relevant and useful for a particular task or context. It can be especially helpful in scenarios where you are seeking a specific answer or a piece of information, such as in customer service or technical support interactions. For example, instead of asking ChatGPT a broad question like, "Can you tell me about the history of the internet?" you might use a short prompt like "Internet history" or "When was the internet created?" to elicit a more focused response. Now let's see the next type of prompting, which is zero shot prompting. Zero shot prompting is a capability of ChatGPT that allows it to generate responses to prompts for which it has not been explicitly trained. This means that the model can generate responses to new prompts that it has never seen before without requiring additional training or fine-tuning. This is made possible by the fact that ChatGPT has been pre-trained on a vast amount of data and has learned to recognize and generate patterns and structures in natural language. So with zero shot prompting, the model can apply this knowledge to generate responses to prompts that it has not been trained on by leveraging its understanding of the underlying language and context. So for example, if you give ChatGPT a prompt like, "What are the causes of climate change?" and then follow up with a completely different prompt like, "How do I make a cake?" the model can still generate a coherent and relevant response to the second prompt despite not having been specifically trained on cake recipes or baking techniques. And the next one is one-shot prompting. One-shot prompting refers to the ability of the model to generate responses based on a single example or input. This means that the model can use a single prompt and generate a coherent and relevant response without requiring additional training or fine-tuning. One-shot prompting is particularly useful for generating responses to rare or specific prompts where there may not be a large amount of training data available. Instead of requiring a large corpus of training data, one-shot prompting leverages the existing knowledge and language patterns learned by ChatGPT to generate a response based on a single example. So for example, You might use one-shot prompting to ask ChatGPT to generate a response to a new technical term or acronym that has not seen before. By providing a single example or definition of the term, ChatGPT can use its understanding of language patterns and context to generate a coherent response. Examples are shown on the screen. The first one is, what is the meaning of the term Zeitgeist? And the next one is, what is the capital of Mongolia? Now let us go to the ChatGPT to execute the examples. So let's try out the first example prompt. What is the meaning of Zeitgeist? So you can see it has given us the meaning of Zeitgeist, which is a German term that refers to the spirit of times of the prevailing cultural, social and political attitudes and values of a particular period in history. And now let us see another example prompt. What is the capital of Mongolia? So now let's just enter. So you can see it has given us one line answer. In each of these examples, ChatGPT was able to generate a coherent and relevant response to a single prompt or an example without requiring additional training or fine tuning. So it is a powerful tool for generating responses to specific questions or prompts and can help users quickly access information or clarify their understanding of a particular concept. Now let's move forward with the final prompting technique, which is chain of thought prompting. So it is a technique used in ChatGPT to generate a series of related responses based on a single initial prompt or question. This technique involves using the previous response generated by the model as the input for the next prompt or question, creating a chain of related thoughts or ideas. The chain of thought prompting technique can be used to generate more complex and nuanced responses as each subsequent response builds on the information provided in the previous response. This technique can be particularly useful for generating longer, more detailed responses to complex questions or prompts. So one example is shown on the screen. What is the capital of Australia? You can ask a follow-up prompt like, what are some major tourist attractions in Canberra? And the next follow-up prompt can be, what is the significance of Parliament House in Canberra? So now let us see the examples of prompting conversation. So let's start with the first prompt. What is the capital of Australia? And enter. So the capital of Australia is Canberra. And now let's ask a follow-up prompt. What are some major tourist attractions in Canberra? And just hit the enter button. So as you can see, Canberra, the capital city of Australia, has many popular tourist attractions, and some major ones are, you can read the response and look for the major tourist attractions in Canberra. Now let us ask another follow-up prompt. What is the history of Australian War Memorial? So as you can see, it has given me the response for the history of Australian War Memorial. So you can read the history of this Australian War Memorial, and let's ask another final follow-up prompt. What is the significance of Parliament House in Canberra? So you can read the significance of the Parliament House. So as you can see from these simple demo prompts, by using chain of thought prompting, ChatGPT was able to generate a series of related responses that provides more information, more detailed and informative answers to each subsequent prompt. This technique can be particularly useful for generating longer, more complex responses and for exploring related topics in more depth. Let us go back to the PPT and try answering some questions. The first one is, what do you mean by prompt engineering? The correct answer is option B, the process of designing and optimizing prompts for language models like ChatGPT. Second question is, which of the following are not examples of prompt engineering techniques? You can go through the options and try answering it. And the correct answer is option D, random prompting. Remaining all others are the type of prompt engineering techniques. Now let's have a quick recap of what we have covered in this session. We started with the basics of prompt engineering. We then moved to some of the prompt engineering techniques and saw the demonstration for some of them. We started with the I want you to act as prompting technique, and then we saw short prompting, zero shot prompting, one shot prompting, and later on chain of thought prompting technique along with the demo. So that was all for the first session in the series of prompt engineering techniques. Going ahead, we'll deep dive further into the prompt engineering techniques. Stay tuned. Thank you.